Hi, it's Martin. Welcome to another video on my Knit365 YouTube channel. Today's video is my June roundup where I get to share with you all of the things that I got up to in the month of June. We've got some finished objects, yes, polish the halo. We have some works in progress, a lot. And we have some plans for the coming months. There's a little bit of a stash acquisition. Stash top up, stash enhancement, whatever you want to call it. I've bought some wool basically at the end of the video. So I hope that you've got a drink. It is 10:30 in the morning. I have a cup of coffee in my Yarn and Yarns mug. So I hope that you have a drink. I hope that you've got your project and I hope that you get to sit down and sit with me for the next half an hour or so as I talk you through what I've been up to. So I hope you've all been well. June has been a busy month, work-wise and just generally. Life came back to normal a little bit. We had a weekend in London, which was lovely. We went out for dinner, had some drinks. So I took projects with me. I'm going to do lots of knitting. We're going to sit in coffee shop. I didn't do any knitting. I took projects with me and didn't get up to anything, which is fine. So it's been a bit up and down in terms of my productivity, but I have still got lots of things to share with you. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Hi, lovely to have you here. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome. Once again, thank you so much for coming back and giving me some of your time. So let's jump straight into it. And let's start with the usual monthly confession, works in progress. I have 17 works in progress, which is an increase of 2 from last month. It's fine. We have finished some things, but we have started some things. What are you going to do? I'm fine. We'll come on to works in progress in a moment for the things that I've been working on and the things that I've cast on. First lot of finished objects though. I don't really know how to claim this. I'm going to claim it as a finished object, but I don't really know how to claim it. I'm only going to claim it once, obviously, but I talked in my last video about my Pride fundraiser. So the month of June, worldwide, is Pride Month, celebrating all things LGBT and helping and raising awareness and support for our friends in the LGBT community that don't have it as well in their countries as we've got it in the UK, as I feel I have it with my friends and family. So to raise money and awareness, I said that I was going to crochet some keyrings. I talked about it. Hop back to my last video if you want to hear all of the details. But effectively, I was crocheting keyrings to order. Mark and I were selling them through friends and family and through work. Both of our works have a diversity network for LGBT and do charity work and raise funds and awareness for different charities. And brilliantly, we both have one charity that is on both of our lists, and that is Mind Out, who are a charity helpline for LGBT people, individuals that identify as LGBT. You know what I'm trying to say. It's very early in the morning. So we've raised money and we've been doing our keyrings. I say we, Mark has been taking orders. So he has been helping, but of course he can't crochet. So he hasn't been helping with the keyrings. I keep holding them up. This is the Pride one that I crocheted, which is obviously based on the rainbow flag. This is the trans keyring. And I don't have the other two. There was a pan keyring and a bisexual keyring. And if you hop back to the last video, you'll get all the details. But in brilliant news, which is why I'm claiming this as a finished object, I've made 126 keyrings. I thought if I could make 20, then that would be brilliant. So it was, I charged £5 for my keyrings, £4 going to charity and £1 just to cover some of the cotton and postage, and it's just been absolutely crazy. I have been like a crochet machine. They take about 15 minutes in total. So you make this as a long strip and then you put it over the keyring and then tie in the knots, and then it's got this lovely little fringe on the bottom. So I've made 126 of them. I've got a couple left that need to be posted out. And yeah, some of our lovely community here got in touch with me after my last video and purchased a keyring. So thank you so much for your support. But it's just been fantastic on Instagram and Twitter through both of our work networks. Close friends and family have wanted to get involved and show their support. So 126 keyrings, £4 per keyring for charity. I can't do the maths in my head. You can work it out. It's been phenomenal. And I'm so pleased that we were able to raise awareness, but more importantly, raise some funds for Mind Out charity. So I've spent a lot of time. I did work out 15 minutes of keyring, 126. It was something like 38 hours of crochet, or 30 hours to make them, which is quite a lot over a month. But then you break it down, it's like 5 or 6 hours a week. That's not that much, is it? I should be trying harder to do my knitting after work and my crochet. But that's been a huge finished object. So I'm very, very pleased. And I'm a little bit proud of Mark and I for doing something like this, which it's just amazing. And thanks again to One Creative Cat. I'll pop their website below, whose pattern the keyring was, who very kindly allowed me to make these and sell them to raise money. So first finished object, 126 keyrings. Should we polish the halo? I think that definitely deserves a halo moment. Next finished object, I started and finished in the month. I said at the end of my last video when I was saying I'm not going to start anything new, and then I went, oh, but Toft's doing a knit along. Yeah. So I got involved in the Toft knit along, and I've made a hat. So this is the Serengeti Hat. Where am I? This is the Serengeti Hat by Kerry Lord of Toft. And this was in the Toft Summer Quarterly magazine. As you can see, lovely little giraffe pattern. Mark chose the colours. So I made him a shawl last year in cream and I keep calling it oatmeal, but I think it's stone. If it's not cream and stone, I'll pop the details below, but I think it is cream and stone. So he, rather than having traditional giraffe colours and a more fudgy brownie colour, he asked if he could have it in this. So I made my hat. The knit along was fantastic, and I do have to doff my cap to a number of people on Instagram who were saying that it was their very first knit along. Kerry provided some brilliant videos every day to talk through the techniques, to explain colour work, how you can do it two-handed, one-handed, how to cast on, how to cast off, how to knit and purl to do the rib. And honestly, the hats look amazing. If you have Instagram, go and search for the Toft Summer Cal, I think is the hashtag. I'll pop the hashtag below with the details. Go and check it out. And some of the projects are amazing. For people's first time, like jumping into a colourwork hat as a brand new knitter is just, honestly, there's some amazing, so very well done to everyone who got involved for the first time. Simple colourwork hat. I did mine. My preferred colourwork method is two-handed. So I have my main colour in my right hand, and then I use the left hand to contrast for the contrast colour. I haven't sewn my ends in. I'm claiming it as a finished object. It's been washed and blocked. I haven't done the final ends. I can't put it on because it doesn't fit me, because I have a slightly larger than normal head, I think. Whenever I do hats, I always have to go either up a needle size, which can affect the tension, or I need to try and adapt the pattern. So if I was going to make this for myself, this is a 25 stitch pattern that you repeat 4 times. To make it as a nice slouchy beanie as it sits on Mark, I would probably need to do another pattern repeat. I do quite like it. I might actually make myself, make one for myself. The pattern itself within the book, so this is the giraffe, but within the book you have the options of making a cheetah, a leopard, there's a snake, which was a download for people who subscribed, there's a tiger, and the patterns are given in the repeat. So you basically follow the schematic for the hat and then just insert your own colourwork chart. It's a really great way of enabling people to customise their projects. So this is for Mark. I will pop a video on screen. No, I'm not. I'm going to pop a picture on screen. There we go. That's Mark wearing the hat. I can't put it on because I can basically get it down to about here. But it fits him lovely. So I will, I'm really pleased that I did that. I did have to knit it twice. Confessional time. I didn't swatch. Yes, I know. I didn't swatch because I'm neither too loose nor too tight. And apparently on this occasion I was too tight. So each day, I think we did 2 days to do the ribbon. And then we did 5 rows a day, I think. So I think I got to day 3 of the colour work. So I was probably only about here. And I was looking at the hat and I was thinking, that looks really small. I don't think that's going to fit Mark's head, and he's got a really small head. So I checked my gauge. Yeah, and it was out. So I put it in the naughty corner for an hour and thought about it. And I was like, there's no point me ploughing on, because if I finish it, yes, I finished it in the knit along, but he's never going to wear it. And what's the point in making things that we're not going to use? So I ripped it back, and then on day 4, I think day 4, whatever the day was that was the Sunday, I then got up early, I ripped the whole thing back, and then I knit the whole thing back up, and I did that day. So I wasn't behind, but yeah, so I went up a needle size. I didn't swatch. I just went up a needle size. So I think the pattern is done on a 4mm needle, and I went up to a 4.5. And I just about got gauge. I think I was 2 stitches short on gauge by going up a needle size. But when I washed it, I now have gauge perfectly. So I winged it, but it's fine. But it did, there's another project. I started another project a couple of months ago, and I had to abandon it because I just couldn't get gauge at all. And I didn't swatch. I started a yoke, had to stop all over the shop. And it's the second time now that I haven't done a gauge swatch. And I know, I always say, oh, I don't need to swatch because I'm not too loose or too tight. I just seem to be about right. But this is the second project this year now that I've had to redo, or it's been a little bit touch and go. So I might slowly be coming around to the thinking of doing a gauge swatch. And I know lots of you that swatch will be telling me to do it. I just get so excited, I just want to start. That's what I feel like. I don't swatch because like you're all ready to go. You've got the needles, you've got the wool, you've got the pattern. You just want to get going rather than you knit your swatch, then you have to stop, you wash it, you let it dry. And I know like a little swatch, it doesn't take long to dry, but it's like I'm ready to go. And I've got to wait a couple of hours before I can decide if I'm going. Then if it doesn't, the gauge is wrong, you've got to change your needle. And I just find it a lot of hassle. But I guess the trade-off is I've had to knit half the hat twice. Whereas if I did my gauge swatch, the time taken to do the gauge swatch would have been less than it's taken me to re-knit the hat. I get it. I am slowly coming around to your way of thinking. Let me know if there's people below that are militant and don't swatch. What do you do? If you'd got halfway and you'd realised your gauge was off, would you have ploughed on and then not used it? Or would you have stopped, swatched? Let me know. Really interested to see. Because I know when you talk to knitters, we are firmly in 2 groups, I think. There are the gaugers and the non-gaugers. No, swatchers, non-swatchers. I don't think there's people in the middle. I think you either do it or you don't. And I'm slowly coming around to, I think, being one of those people that I'll go into. But there we go. So the Toft Serengeti hat, I really enjoyed doing that. No pom-pom. Mark has decided he just wants it as a little beanie. So finished that in the month. So that's my second finished object. So keyrings and a hat. So I'm happy. I had some things to show you. Moving on to works in progress then. We'll come on to the baubles in a minute because some of you are regular viewers will be like, no baubles this month? No baubles this month. We'll come on to that in a minute. So straight on from the hat though, within the pattern book, they also had, there's a mittens pattern. So another new project as a work in progress. I've started the matching mittens. No, granted, I did start these about a week ago and I haven't done anything on it. I did this in one evening. I've cast on, and I said it was a 25 stitch repeat. So the hat is 4 repeats. The mittens are just 2 repeats. It's going to be identical to the hat. Lovely and simple, two-handed. I find it a little bit fiddlier because I'm using a small sock needle. And I think once I've got a bit more fabric, it'll move around the needles. It's a bit, because I'm doing it two-handed, I feel it's a bit awkward. But there will be, I don't think they're called Serengeti mittens. I can't remember what the name of them is, but they're within the pattern book. And again, you can follow the whole concept of, do you want to do giraffe, tiger, snow leopard, etc. So Mark wants matching giraffe mittens. And the mitten itself is going to be an open top. So it's got a lovely little rib on the bottom, and then there will be rib around the tops of the fingers, and it's an open thumb. So I think I knit about 2/3 of the colour work, and then I start the increase for the thumb. The thumb will go onto waste yarn, and then I finish the mitten, and then I just do a tiny thumb. So I'm hoping I will get something done on this in July. There's a danger with this that I got all excited. Oh, I finished my hat. Let's start the mittens. And then lots of other things happen. And then these mittens, this is how I've got like 17 works in progress now, because I've got some things, they're smaller. But I've got another pair of mittens, probably started maybe 2 years ago, and they're about this long. There's nothing wrong with them. I've just put it down and I started something else. So there's a danger that these could turn into that. So I'm going to try and do a little bit of work on these, even if I just do a couple of rounds a day. Maybe I could do it like the knit along. So I could just do 5 rows a day. Or maybe I could do 10 rows a day because it's double, because it's half the size. So if I do 10 rows a day, I could have these finished in the next week. Steady. But anyway, so I've started some mittens. So I'm going to work on those throughout July. Yes, then my baubles. So again, for those regular viewers, you'll know that I'm doing my bauble along. For new viewers here, I set myself a task at the beginning of the year to make some knitted baubles to go on our Christmas tree. I'm using the Arne and Carlos bauble along that they did last December. And with all of the keyrings and all of the other things that I had on, I usually do my baubles. I work a 9-day fortnight, so I have every other Monday off work. It's my chores around the house and my knitting day. And I usually try and do my baubles on the first Monday that I'm off in the month. So they're done, they're out of the way. 2 months ago, I didn't do any baubles because I had other things that I was doing. And then I did 4 baubles last month to keep up. My baubles this month, are you ready? You are going to be so impressed with my bauble. This is going to be a moose. So there's his 4 legs, or her 4 legs, or their 4 legs. But that is the sum total of my bauble along for June. So effectively, I have got to do 4 this month, and it's the same as I was 2 months ago. And I said I wasn't going to get back into this position, but it's fine. It's knitting. I'm not bothered. You know, they will get done. They're very simple to do. The fact that I've cast this one on now, that's actually might be a good thing. I think I said in a previous video, it's very fiddly because they're on double pointed needles and you only start with 12 stitches. But I've just kind of made my own technique now that I basically knit it flat for 2 or 3 rows until I've got enough fabric. Let me see if I can get this to show. So here you can see the start of the bauble, but what you can see here is the gap in the fabric. So that's where I've kept going back and forth by knitting it flat. And I do that for 3 or 4 rows. And then with the tail, when I come to do this, I will just close it up. But it works better for me. Someone shared a pinhole cast on, I think. I looked at it, it looked really fiddly. and I thought I would probably spend more time getting annoyed that I couldn't do the pinhole cast on as easily, and I decided that wasn't going to help me. So this works well. I think most of my baubles have got a little hole on the bottom, and I'll just stitch that up, and no one will be none the wiser, because effectively you have to gather the stitches at the bottom anyway. So, little tip, if you're using double points and you have small circumference, or if you're not used to using double points and you have to do something quite small, that certainly worked for me. And I think something like that as a bauble, you're not going to notice that I've not joined in the round from the very first stitch. But consequently, I now have 4 baubles to do for July. Someone did say a couple of months ago, don't beat yourself up, don't do 4, why don't you just do 3 and then do 3 the month after? I've got a lot I want to finish, so I might end up taking that advice this month, but I'm going to try, you know, hopefully get this one finished this weekend. So yes, that's my bauble along. Not a lot of progress on that either. 2 other things I've been working on then. So this is an ongoing work in progress. So because I've been doing the keyrings, I wanted a bit of a break, but I didn't really have anything that was easy and mindless, and I was on a bit of a crochet vibe with my keyrings. So I have done 2 squares for my Babette blanket. So I'm making a blanket out of Rowan felted tweed. It's out of yarn from my stash, Polish the Halo, and it is in these lovely colours of varying greys and blues. And then I've got some contrast colours. So there's a little teal, a little pinky, a creamy. We've got a little sort of caramel colour, a little purple. And I'm doing them random. So I've got the contrast colours in one bag. I've got the blues and greys in another. And then I decide what size square do I need to make based on my pattern schematic. And it'll tell me I need 4 colours. So I'll grab 1 contrast colour and 3 of the blues, for example. And I like this approach because it means my squares are going to be completely random, but all on a palette. And they're all going to be different sizes. So this is a 12 round granny. And this is the biggest square within the pattern. And we've also got some little tiny 2 rounds, which is 4. You know what I'm trying to say, don't you? It's just the 4 squares. And they're all varying sizes. They all get sewn together. This is going to be a bit of a fun video. Maybe I shouldn't record before midday. I hope you're all following along. You know what I mean. It is not usually this chaotic, I promise you, if you are new here. And you're still with me, thank you. So I've done 2 squares. So I've still got hundreds of these to make. But I didn't do any last month. So I've only done 2. But I'll just keep checking in on it. It's going to be a long-term project because there's a lot of squares. I will try and work out, I think, how many squares I have to make. It's not 100, but it's not 20. Like, say, for example, there's 60 squares I've got to make. I've probably made 10 or 11. I think there are 9 sections. Maybe I'll do a little deep dive next month and I'll share a bit more about my Babette. But I'm really pleased. I love the colours. They're just so me. Greys, blues, and I love how I've got these little contrast centres that are just going to give me these pops of colour. So, managed to check in on my Babette, which was great. And then the other project that I've started on this month, which is a new project, which takes me up to 17 works in progress. My last video, and thank you so much for all of your feedback and your comments about my Toft video. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Hearing more about my journey with Toft and crochet and how I make my, how I found them and how I set my plans now for the rest of the year. I said that in the same way that lots of you all have sock patterns on the go and you've always got a pair of socks or when you're out and about traveling, I said I'd quite like to always have a Toft animal on the go because I really enjoy making them. So I have started Kerry the Chameleon. I talked in that video about all the patches that I've got, the collector's items, and I wanted to make an animal to go with each of the patches, and I wasn't sure which one to start. So I just thought, why not start with the boss? Kerry is the boss of Toft. Let's do Kerry Chameleon. So that is the pattern. And it is made out of Toft DK. It's in the lime colour, which is lovely. It doesn't look like a chameleon yet. Oh, maybe it does a little bit now. So this is how far I've got. I think it's roughly that way. So I did that in, no, where's, you can see the stitch marker. So the stitch marker is on the bottom. I think it's that way. Yeah, there we go. So I did this a couple of weekends ago. I started it and I did this in one Sunday. We sat in bed, had some tea, watched some Netflix, and I've done most of the tail and the body. So I'm at the largest point now. So I think I've got 4 or 5 rounds flat. So I just keep going around in a circle and then I start decreasing out for the head. This is a level 3 pattern. So the Toft patterns come in level 1, level 2, level 3. Very broadly speaking, level 1 animals will all be one color. They won't have complicated techniques such as the loop stitch that makes the fur, for example. Level 2 would then have some of that, maybe the loop stitch or some fur that you need to put onto the body, maybe a simple color change. And then level 3, Kerry chucks everything at you, all the techniques. This is only a single color. And I don't know whether I think this is a level 3 because of the increases and decreases. So you really need to know where you are in your round. You need to be able to read the pattern, because I think the head is obviously a funny shape because this is all made in one part. So it's the tail into the body, into the head, and then you close. So it's not constructed and then sewn together. That you make 4 legs and then sew the legs on, but the rest of the project is actually just one long tube. So I think the fact that this is a level 3 is because of the increases and decreases, because actually this tail, you can see the kinks in it. So I started here with just 6 stitches, I think, and then very quickly, there's a kink there. So very quickly decreased and increased to keep the 6, but actually to get that shape. And then we came up and we did some steep decreasing on this corner here with some increases to keep the thickness of the shape. So there was just still 6 stitches, but the decreases give you that shape. And then you can see there's another kink there. So I think it's a level 3 complexity because of the shape, rather than anything else. Kerry might be watching and she might tell me that there's something else that I haven't read ahead in the pattern that makes it really complicated. But that's Kerry Chameleon. So I hope I'm going to finish that this month. I will finish that this month because, as I said, I want to, ideally, I'd like to make a Toft creation a month, and then get ahead with doing my all of my patches. So that's another work in progress. This is why I haven't finished anything, because I've started that. I've started the gloves. I did some of these. It's the Keyrings. That's why I haven't finished anything. I'm blaming the Keyrings. Right, and then the final major work in progress. Very excited about this. It's not a finished object. It's not a finished object, but it's so nearly a finished object. And this is my pathway scarf. So I have finished the colour work. So there was a podette a couple of months ago where I made a huge mistake and I had to basically take back from here down to here. Oh no, down to here. And I had to restart all of the colour work completely. Last month, I think I had just started. I was about here, maybe a finger. I think I'd done 3 or 4 rows of the second part of the chart, which is where you then switch the edge in to the grey colour. But I've now finished all of the colour work and I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've done 8 rows. I don't know how many. I've got a lot left to do, but it's basically just mindless knit stitch now. So the pattern is, again, this is a Toft pattern by Kerry Lord. This is from one of the Toft quarterlies. It's a mosaic knitting pattern. If you've never done mosaic knitting before, it is colour work Oh, this is interesting. So in the same way that this is colour work on the mittens, but this is using the Fair Isle or stranded technique where you can see the floats. Ooh. I know some of you like a sneak peek of the inside, don't you? So if I just, there's my hat. Oh, that actually looks quite nice. So here you can see the float. So this is the stranded knitting technique where you carry the yarn between the stitches. And it's what I'm doing here where I have a colour in each hand. This is mosaic knitting. So it's still colour work because it's 2 colours per row. But what you're actually doing is each row, you're only ever working with 1 colour. So for here, for example, you can see that I was knitting with the pink. But then when I got to this grey bit here, this grey was a slipped stitch from the stitch that was knitted beneath it. So I will have, say, knit 10 pink, slip the grey, knit a pink, slip to grey, knit 10 pink. So each time, so it is colour work, but it's very simple colour work in as much as one problem that people often get with stranded is if you're not loose enough with your technique, your floats along the back actually bunch up and they're too tight. And then actually when you come to put it on, it doesn't fit because there's no give in the hat. So you can see here, so even though this doesn't fit me, it's nothing to do with the gauge or the style. It's actually, I think it was probably designed for a female because that's the predominant market, I think, for the Toft patterns. There's a lot of stretch in the hat. You can see my floats aren't tight at all. But if your tension is too tight on your floats, you can't really get that stretch. So I like this with the mosaic knitting. This is the second mosaic project that I did. I did a shawl for Mark. Maybe check out the June or July video last year, I think it was in. And then the back of the pattern looks like this. So the pattern is clearly only on one side, but this is the reverse of that then. So you can't really see any shape of pattern. If you think about the stranded, you can almost see the inverse giraffe, whereas here, it's just a bit of a jumble. You can see here where the floats are because you're slipping the stitches. But again, they're nice and stretchy, but because you're only slipping the colour that you're not using, you don't really have that same tension issue. So if you've never tried mosaic knitting or you've never tried colour work and you're a little bit put off by Fair Isle and the stranded technique, absolutely give mosaic a go. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I was going to say, I'm going to finish this in July. I hope I'll finish this in July because it is now mindless knitting. I took this to the cinema. Some people I know, like Ange off of Yarn and Yarns, is a big cinema knitter. She will take socks to the cinema, and I remember talking to her about it before and saying, I don't think I could do it. It's very dark. And she's like, give it a go. You know, take a simple project you don't need to concentrate on. So I finished the colour work. We went to see In the Heights, big musical fan. And we went to see it, then raved about it. My brother and sister-in-law wanted to see it, so we went back for the second viewing. And because I'd already seen it once then, I got all cocky. I was like, check me out. I'm going to take my knitting to the cinema. And I was fine. I didn't cause any problems. There was no dramas. But I got about an hour and a half into the film. I think I'd done 5 rows, which is 5 rows of 300 stitches. That was a good hour and a half of knitting. But I didn't want to get cocky. And I was like, I can't see if I'm doing it right. I can't see if there's a problem. So I kind of thought, quit while you're ahead, because it was all feeling fine. Of course, grey wool in a black cinema. I couldn't really see what I was doing. It was really interesting that I lost my sense of sight as far as my knitting was concerned. So I had to feel the stitches, and I really enjoyed doing it. And if you've never knit in the cinema and you're so inclined to do so, I would try it because it is interesting because you do lose that sight and you have to feel your knitting. And yeah, I did enjoy it, and I would absolutely do it again. But I quit while I was ahead. Because the thing with this, I've had such a love-hate relationship with this scarf because I've had to undo it. There was, I undid a row and a half last week. I had about 4 rows left to go on the colour work, and I realised I'd made a mistake. We'd been out for coffee. I did do some knitting in London because I sat down over breakfast and I did a row and I messed that row up, but I didn't know I messed that row up until a few weeks later when I went to do this again. And yeah, so I had to unpick a row and a half to then fix it. So I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship. So there's a little bit of me now that's just like, I need this finished because it's been on the needles for months. I've ripped the whole thing back to the colour work once. I've now made another mistake and I was like, quit while you're ahead. The cinnamon knitting feels okay, but let's not push it. But I would do something else. Like, I'm not doing a hat. And I definitely can't crochet without looking. My crochet skills, I've said before, I'm a knitter who crochets. But maybe some socks or something that I don't, obviously you can't have a pattern. So you need to pick the right project. So this was perfect. Like the body on my Beau Swan jumper, I've got on my list coming up to say, I'm gonna try and do some work on my Beau Swan sweater in July, because I said I was going to last month and I haven't done anything else with it. It's still about that long on the body. But that would be perfect cinnamon knitting because that's just knitting round and round and round and round. It's actually a lighter colour than this. So maybe that would be slightly better to be able to see it. I don't know. But anyway, that's my pathway scarf. I really love the pattern. I love how now I finished it. It is still low contrast. I'm still not particularly a huge fan of the colours. I thought we were going to have colours like this. So you kind of get that contrast. But no, Mark chose the colours. So what Mark chooses, Martin knits. So yeah, so you can, if I hold it back, you can't, it kind of blends. If you look at it, you can kind of make out the pattern. He really likes it anyway, which is the most important thing. So I'm hoping I'm going to finish that. So basically the grey needs to be the same length as the pink. So it is a lot of knitting because it's over 300 stitches, but it's kind of perfect. Like, oh, the football's on in the background. I'm not a football fan, but I've weirdly got involved in Euros. The football's on or the tennis is on. We don't mind a bit of tennis in this house. So it's a good TV project now. So I'm hoping to make some work, some progress on that in July. And then hopefully this will be a finished object next month. So that's probably it for what I was up to in June. A couple of finished objects, hundreds of keyrings. Started a couple of new things. Those new things should hopefully be off the needle soon though. So I feel like I'm making good progress. Plans for July then. I want to finish that scarf. I mentioned the Beau Swan sweater. I've done all of the colour work. If you're new here, pop back 2 videos or maybe 3 videos. I mentioned the Beau Swan then, but there is also a project specific video from around March time where I did a project video about the Beau Swan sweater, how I did the yoke. So I've done all the colour work, I've just got to knit the body. So I'm hoping to do some work on the Beau Swan. Mark's Argyle sweater is over in the corner. I've not done anything on it now. So this is the second month. Don't say it's the 3rd month. That's the 2nd month at least that I haven't done any knitting on it. So I'm halfway up the back. So I want to try and dig that out. And I also want to do some sewing. I haven't done any sewing for ages. I'm back to the office and I want to make myself a bag. So we've got loads of old jeans that they were didn't want to throw them out. Like the crotch has gone, a little hole in them, or the bottoms of the jeans that are a bit all scuffed. So I wouldn't wear them anymore, but I didn't throw them away. So I've got loads of denim jeans and I want to make myself a bag. So I want just like a little messenger bag with a flat bottom that I can put my lunchbox in, my coffee cup. I take milk and coffee and that kind of stuff to the office. So I want a nice bag. So I found a pattern, I think. So I want to do a bit of sewing this month. So I want to try and sew myself a bag. And I taught months and months ago. This might be like, bear with, I can tell you one, I think. Let me look back through my book. I have a book that I don't keep my plans in. They're all in my head, which is why it's all a bit chaotic. But I make a little note to myself each video for what I want to talk about. When did I say? I don't know, I can't find it. Oh, I said in my February roundup in March that I wanted to make a t-shirt and I haven't. So it's now June roundup in July. So I would like to make some t-shirts for our nieces and have a little go at that. So I've not done any sewing for a while. I've got a couple of days off later this month, so I might just forget all my knitting and my crochet and have a sewing day. We'll see. And then that leads me to stash top-ups. And this is stash top-ups, and then it's going to lead into new projects. So I have bought 4 balls of wool. I bought 2 of each colour. So this is Drops Merino Extra Fine. This is 100% wool. It is so squishy. And it's got a proper sniff test. So squishy. It is Merino Extra Fine, but it's super wash. So it is machine washable, which is exactly what I was looking for. So I have this lovely grey colour. This is colour 5. I can't remember the name of the actual colour. And we've got colour 1, which is this lovely cream colour. So I have bought 2 balls of each. And I did buy wool with the purpose of making something. So I'm going to make some baby cardigans. And we are going to be uncles again, which is very, very exciting. Which then I'm saying I'm going to finish all these projects, but I might actually start some new baby things. Both of my brothers, my parents are having kittens because it's happening all at the same time. But we've already got 2 nieces. So my younger brother has our oldest niece, niece 1. She is 6. And my middle brother has niece 2, and she is 3. They have both announced that they are with child, or their partners are with child. So we potentially have niece 3 and 4, or niece 3 and nephew 1. I don't know. One is due Christmas Eve, and the other is due the 9th of January. So literally, our little family is going to go from 2 children to 4 children in the space of a month. And my mum and dad are like, we haven't got a big enough car for that. Like we haven't even worked up to it. Like, you're just doubling the grandkids. It's like, hey, man, what are you going to do? So I'm going to do some baby knitting. They're both past 12 weeks. I won't start in earnest until they've done the 20-week scan, and then they know what they're having. So I've kind of got generic, grey and cream, easy. But I'd like to just tick away at it because I like to make baby clothes. I made stuff for the nieces. Go back and watch the very introductory video if you've never seen it. I talk about the reason why I learned to knit. And it was because my younger brother was pregnant with his first baby. So I make some stuff. I'll make some jumpers and cardigans, and I will make them blankets. I'll talk about their blankets in another video because I made them what I think will become an heirloom blanket. That it's a blanket personalised for them. It's got their name, their initial on it. It's got a lovely cable border. I really love it. That was the dishwasher. So I'll make them a blanket, but I won't start that until later in the year. But I'd like to maybe, a little jumper, a little cardigan. And then we'll just get a little box going in the corner because now they're both pregnant. So I'll just start making a couple of things and then the box will fill up and then they can all help themselves. But they're very, very knit worthy. They are super appreciative of baby items. But of course, I did buy that wool when I went to Unraveled, if you've seen that video, and I would love to make some baby clothes. I knew that they were pregnant in then. I didn't say anything, of course, before the 12-week scan. I knew they were pregnant then, which is why I bought that wool to make them something, but I'm umming and ahhing because it's hand-dyed yarn and it's not machine washable. And the wool is amazing. It's so soft and it's such a funky colour. But now I've bought it, I'm a little bit like, oh, new parents don't need hand-washed items. And I could say, give it back to me and I'll wash them. But then they've got to remember, then they might take it off because the baby's been sick on it, or these things happen, I get it. And then it'll just get swept up in the wash. So I don't know. So I've got some machine washable stuff so that I can make some things. So, plea to all of you in the community, comment below your favourite baby knits. I've got some recommendations from other people for wool, which I'll pop onto my Instagram stories because I did a bit of a plea a couple of weeks ago for baby wool. Must be super soft, not acrylic if it can be. I don't have a problem with acrylic. It has a purpose. The blanket I made for Mark's mum for Christmas last year was acrylic. I do like 100% wool for babies though, trying to be more environmentally aware. If I don't have to use acrylic, I won't have to. The blankets I will make for them will have acrylic, will have nylon in it. That's the West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep. I already know the wool I'm going to use for those. It's fine. Nylon, acrylic, they've got their purpose. But let me know your baby wool, extra marks if it's 100% wool. What do you use? And let me know your baby patterns, because these are going to be a fuss-free baby cardigan. Yes, fuss-free baby cardigan by Louise Tilbrook. I made some for friends who've had babies. So little simple top-down raglan. So we might have some of those finished objects next month. Hey, look, I've got a lot of stuff on. And it was great because some of you in the comments last month when I was moaning about why don't I get anything finished, some of you were going, oh my God, you're crazy. I don't feel as bad about having 10 works in progress. I'm more than happy to be the excuse when people say to you, why don't you finish? And you go, hey, there's this guy on YouTube. He's got like 17 works in progress now. I'm happy to be that excuse. But equally, I did like a few suggestions from people about pick one project to work on and then others just around the edges. So I think that's going to be my scarf. This is a proper crazy video today. I'm going to work on my scarf throughout the month. That's going to be my main one. And then I'll check in on my mittens. We'll also do my Kerry. So there's kind of 3 or 4. 3. 4 with these. Oh, my baubles. Yeah. You get the picture. It's all crazy and chaotic. And I've now dropped everything on the floor. So there we go. Right. On that basis, I think, looking at my list, I've done everything. So thank you for spending some time with me. It's been lovely to chat with you. And I do like doing these videos because I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I haven't really finished anything. Oh, I did the hat. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then by the time I realise what I have actually worked on, I cut myself some slack. I've worked on a lot, considering I've also spent nearly 40 hours making keyrings this month. So yeah, I'm completely fine. I'm really happy. I love my crafting. I don't find any of it a chore. So I joke about, oh my God, I'm going to do works in progress. I don't get stressed about it. I do it all in jest. It's all very lighthearted. Makes the nights interesting. What will I work on now? The flat is getting quite full of wool. You can't see over there with all the stashes. Or maybe we'll do a stash video one day. I can talk you through how I log it. I don't log everything. How I put it all in bags and it's kind of organised-ish. We could do that. But we'll leave it there. So that was my June roundup. Thank you very much, if you're still here, for watching. Later on this month, I'm hoping now things are unlocking properly in the UK. I'm hoping to do the first of my yarn shop tour videos. My local yarn shop, Ammonite Yarns, I've been going for years. Ruth and Jenny, love them. They are my go-to source of knitting guidance and inspiration. I need to go and look at all the West Yorkshire Spinners wool because I need to choose wool for blankets. I think it's like 13 balls a blanket. So I need like 26, 27 balls of wool. So I need to go and look at the wool and then they can put an order because I'm guessing they probably won't have enough wool. So I want to go up to there and see them. So I'll hopefully take you all with me. So maybe later this month, we'll have a local yarn shop tour video, which I know lots of you are excited to see some in-person wool shopping. So I'm going to do that. One of my works in progress is a jumper that I've adapted the pattern myself with help from Jenny. And I'm going to stick it and turn the jumper into a cardigan. It's been done, it's ready. It's finished as a jumper. I could be wearing it apart from the fact that it's got this massive panel down the middle. Sleeves are done, it's finished, but it's in the corner because I don't want to do the steeking on my own. I've watched loads of videos. I know how to do it. I've done a little course with Jenny. But you know when you just want someone sitting there to say, oh, you've missed a stitch? I just want that. But now things are reopening. I'm hoping, as well as going just to say hi to the girls in Ammonite and get some wool, I'm hoping that they might allow later this month. I'm hoping I might be able to get a one-to-one lesson with Jenny booked in, and then I can finish one of my works in progress, because I just need to do the sticking, and then I just need to pick up and put a little button band on it. So we're not going to have that done in July, but I might have a bit of progress on one of my works in progress. Anyway, now I am babbling, because I said like 8 minutes ago I was going to finish this video. But yes, keep an eye out for later this month. Hopefully we'll have a local yarn shop tour video. There is a whole nother video coming on the Steakin jumper, by the way. There's a project video. It was the very first video I ever started, like 2 years ago, March. The footage is that old. I've still got most of the footage. The video's a bit of a mess because it was my very first one. I didn't really know what I was doing. So there will be a whole video on my steaked jumper at some point as well. But we are going to leave it there. So thank you. If you're still with me and you've enjoyed the babbling madness today, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please click that subscribe button. It helps me to grow my community. We are nearly close to 1,300 subscribers now, which is just amazing. Thank you as always for being here, for giving me a little bit of your time. My little bit of YouTube is just over a year old now. I started it in lockdown, and the fact that there are 1,300 of you here who give me regular time and support is just amazing. So thank you so much. So please click that subscribe. It helps me to grow my community. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me out. So thank you very much for today. I hope you finished your cup of tea. Mine's gone cold. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you've enjoyed about the video. Let me know about your baby knits. Let me know what you're up to. If you, as always, are on Instagram, please tag me in your pictures, your projects. Some of you have been doing that, and I really like being able to see your faces, which is really weird because I'm just looking into the camera, but also like to see what you're working on. It's really lovely to see how the community are interacting with each other and what we're all doing. So until we speak again, I'm definitely going to leave it there now. Happy crafting.